Okay, we are good to go. So I do know that we have trainings in the team page on growing your network, but the one that I did was over a year ago. And it's not that I like do all these crazy new things, but I think it's good to revisit things and go over things and maybe share new things that we have found. So as we go out, like on through this training, if there's anything that you have found that works for you, that helps you, that has brought you engagement or followers or anything, feel free to put it in the chat just as a tip. Because like I always say, there's not one way to do something. There's not, a perfect formula. This is just what works for me and personally what I do on a daily basis. And I am going to preface by saying this, and I say this to you guys all the time, but I always feel like this is one thing that gets left on the back burner. I think that growing your network can be something that you leave out of your IPAs or you aren't as consistent with. I think it can kind of be something people struggle with, where in reality, when you look at this career and what we do, it is so important. And I'll give the analogy that I always give. So if you've been around for forever, I'm so sorry. I'm never going to stop saying this, but getting new people in front of you is the most important thing for your business. Okay. So imagine if you went to Target at 8 a.m. one morning and they let people in for 2 hours to go shopping, and then they lock the doors and nobody else could ever come in, right? Are they going to keep making sales, right? Is their business going to keep growing? Are they going to have new people buying stuff? No. And it's like that with any store. If you don't have your doors open, welcoming people in, having new people see what you have to offer, to connect with all these different things, your business isn't going to grow. And I will say that when I joined this company, it wasn't something I did every day, because I think in the beginning, you kind of feel like you don't have to, right? Because it's new. If you're introducing something brand new to your social media where not everybody knows about it yet. So you can kind of live off of that market you already have for a while, but after a while passes, you need to be able to speak to new people, right? And it's not that I disregard the people that have been my friends or followers for forever, but you always have to have new and fresh eyes in front of you if you expect to have new conversations, new enrollments, new connections, all these different things. So it's very, very important. And the industry we're in is literally called network marketing. So if you're not networking with people, if you're not being social, if you're not growing connections and your influence, it's going to be really, really hard to grow a business. So the first thing that I'm going to touch on is how to have organically if people follow you, right? So I'm going to go through obviously how to go out and add people and grow your network, but I also want to talk about some tips and tricks of how you can have people just follow you, right? Without you having to go follow them, and the things that you need to make sure that you're doing daily so that that is a regular occurrence on your page. The number one thing, and I always say this also, is that your page has to be aesthetically pleasing, right? We preach that our content is so important and our message is so important and our impact is so important and us being authentic and vulnerable and all these things, right? But if your page can't catch somebody's eye, they're not going to get to that part, right? They're not going to get to the meat and cheese of the sandwich if they don't even want it, right? If they're not like, oh yeah, I'm enticed to follow back, or yeah, I think we have something in common, or I really like the way her page looks. If they're not clicking that follow, it's going to be hard for them to even get to that content that you're working so hard to put out. And that's why it's the two puzzle pieces together. You have to make sure that it's attracting people in, it's clean and cohesive, you have a theme or a preset or whatever you're working with, and that they can clearly get an idea for who you are in your life. Because if that doesn't happen, like I said, they're not going to reach your content. They're not going to know what you're about or who you are or what you can offer them to help them achieve anything in their life, right? They're never going to get to that if they're not attracted to your page. So that's the number one thing. I did that post in the team page this week about the social media makeover with the before and after of one of my newbies. So if you haven't looked at that, look at that. If you want to revamp your page, if you have things you want to change up, it can be little things like your bio or a preset or just the type of pictures you put up. Another video we haven't really talked about in a while, I have on the team page, I don't know if it's titled like how to take a good picture or how to take a good selfie. I literally walk you around my house like with my ring light, and I express like how I take pictures and the lighting I look towards and like the composition of pictures and stuff like that. So that's the number one thing, is if you want people to be following you, wanting to be on your page, to be your friend, your follower, make sure that that step is solid, right? And that's the first thing I always say, because if we can nail that down, the other part of your content and everything else you're putting into your business we can work on, right? We can grow in, we can always evolve in that. But if you nail that down first, that's going to help so much because it allows them to be drawn into your page. So like I said, check out that post if you haven't. And if you do check it out and you want help revamping your page, reach out to your enroller and just ask them. I have my girls ask me all the time and they're like, hey, should I change this? Should I update this? Can you look at this real quick? Always reach up for help with that if you want to revamp anything. And then with that, also, your content has to be serving value. So if you want people to follow you back, right? If you have caught their eye, they're on your page, there has to be value to what you're sharing. There has to be meaning behind it, right? There are so many people on social media. There are so many people building businesses, selling things, having fashion blogs, being influencers. It's this whole sea of people, right? You have to connect with them over something. So like we always say, focus on the content, the value that you're serving up, and that when they go to your page and they scroll through your last couple pictures, look at the caption, right? What type of idea are they getting about who you are and what you do and what you're about, right? And I think that's a good thing to always do, is to have that mirror check of, okay, if I'm a stranger and I went to my page for the first time, what is the first thing I see? And then let's say if they tapped on your story that day or went through your first couple posts, what is that presentation that they're getting? That's your resume to them, right? So check that out and always make sure to be serving value, because people can stumble upon your page. However, Instagram works in weird ways. Facebook does too. But if they fall onto your page, are they going to want to stay? And that's something to always ask yourself. Also, to have people organically follow you, hashtags. I get questions about this all the time, and I do use hashtags. I think that on Instagram, you absolutely should be. It's opening the door for new people to find your page. And like I'm going to talk about in a little bit, it's also a way for you to find people. But that's a simple thing to do on every single picture and on your stories. I'll talk about that in 1 second. That can bring people to you. And another question I get is what hashtags I use or how I come up with them. And I've shared this before, but I do have an app on my phone called, where is it? Hashme, Hashme, and it's just like the hashtag sign. And I use that because you can put in one keyword. So when I posted the picture of my bathtub, I searched in Hashme the one thing. I think I did like bathtub goals or like bathroom goals or bathtub something, and you enter that and it populates a list of 25 to 30 other hashtags that are related to that one topic, right? So it allows you that when you're putting up different pictures, you can always be reaching new people with the hashtags you put up. And that's how I formulate them. It's what the picture is about. So the hashtags I'm going to put on a picture that's, let's say, a selfie of me or a picture of me and Travis is obviously going to be way different than the hashtags I put on something that is home decor or home related, or, you know, something else in that realm, maybe health or fitness or whatever that may be. So my biggest tip is to get an app like that and keep the hashtags specific to what is in that post. And if you're posting content that is of your 5 things or your branding or what makes you, you're always going to be reaching new people. Because obviously every time I post a picture, it's not going to be a bathtub, but that may have reached a totally new audience of people that love home decor or, you know, design or anything in that realm that may have not been brought to my page otherwise. But that app is really good to use because it helps to show you different hashtags to use that aren't like the super crazy popular ones. And that's one of my tips too, is don't use like the ones that have millions and millions and millions of people hashtagging it. Like, I don't even know ones that are examples because I haven't used them in so long. I used to use them because I thought that that would help. But when you're using a hashtag that millions of other users are using, nobody's going to see your stuff because every single second somebody's posting it, right? So I don't know, let's say, I'm sure if you hashtagged like Sunday Fun Day today, like I'm sure like millions of people, motivation, like hashtag boss babe, like I'm sure stuff like that, right? Like it's millions of people are using that. Try to do more specific ones to what that picture is about and who you are and what you're about. I'm going to read these out loud too, just so that when we watch the recording, because obviously I don't know how to upload a chat to that. Jenna said the Plan app is good too for hashtags. You can create your hashtags based on their popularity and choose the ones that aren't super popular, and you can save your hashtags for certain posts. That's great. Yes, hashtag mom life. So, right, those are very basic ones that so many people are searching. And while you can use those yourself to maybe find people and weed through, somebody that's not going in to intentionally grow their network it's going to be really hard to find your picture, right? Because so many different people are hashtagging that certain one. So find ones that are more specific for you and put them on every picture, right? It might not lead to hundreds of people following you, but it might lead to one connection where somebody new finds your page that you may not have known. And I know that by hashtagging, you can, like, depending on if you get in like the top 9 on that hashtag feed and all these different things, it can put you on the Explore feed too, which can obviously help bring new eyes to your page. But yes, do the not popular ones. Do ones that are specific to who you are, because that's going to help you to reach people who are just like you, right? I stay away from the ones that are over 500,000, because unless your post is getting a ton of likes, nobody will ever find your post. Yeah, unless it's getting like hundreds of thousands, which if any of you are getting that many likes, I should not be leading straight. It's going to be hard to find. So do more specific ones that don't have as many. And also a tip for when I do my hashtags, I don't like the look of hashtags. And I've done this tip since I first joined network marketing. I do them in a comment. So I post my post and then I go to make a comment on that post, and I do like dots down. So I'll do like a dot return, dot return, dot return, dot, like down. And then I paste the hashtag so that when you go to my post, you don't see all the hashtags. You see like 2 dots and then it cuts it off. You know, when a comment's too long, it like cuts it off. So you don't see it, if that makes sense. And that might be something that only bugs me. I just don't like looking at hashtags on my picture like that. So I kind of like hide them that way, if that makes sense. And you can also use hashtags on your stories, which I don't think that a lot of people do, and I definitely don't do enough, but you can hashtag on your stories, and that will bring a lot of new viewers to your stories, which could obviously turn into new followers and engagement and stuff like that. Do you do it as a separate comment? So I post my picture like with my caption, and then I just go and make a comment on that post, and I do the dots and the hashtags in one comment, if that makes sense. So you can hashtag on your stories, and you can also do locations on your stories. Oh, and you can hide them. That's smart. You can hide comments. See, you guys are teaching me something. You can do locations on your stories and on your posts, and that is huge. Hold on. Yes, I don't find any difference in hashtagging on the post or in the comments. If you found otherwise, let us know, but I haven't found any difference on like it bringing people to my post. I could be wrong, but I've never had an issue with that. But yeah, stories, hashtags on the stories is huge. And locations, like I said too. So when I put up a picture, or if I'm somewhere, I use the locations. Yeah, if you're doing hashtags or locations on your stories, pinch them really, really small and drag them to the bottom right corner, and you won't even see them on your stories, but it will still put you in that feed. I do that even when I'm adding music to like my Insta story. I like pinch it, that little music box, as small as I can, and I drag it all the way down to the bottom right, and it doesn't show them at all. Thank you, Lindsay. I forgot about that. But yeah, location. So I do that on my posts and on my stories. And if you are worried about like safety things, don't do like your street address. Obviously do like the big city that's near you, or you know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, I don't mind. Like when we went to church this morning, I tagged my church. Everybody knows what church I go to, but I would never tag obviously like the street I live on or anything like that. I just do the city closest to us, which is Oklahoma City. So when I post stuff, I always do Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. And I do that on my stories and on my posts, and that can help people new to find you. I had somebody follow me today from my stories, and when she followed me, I went to her page and saw on her story she was at Life Church at a different location today, but I'm pretty sure she found me because I tagged Life Church Edmond on my actual feed, and that's how, and she just followed me. She's not in network marketing or anything, and she found me right through that. Yes. Okay, awesome. I love that you guys are interacting, giving tips too. So that is big. And the last thing that I have for people organically coming to you or finding your page, and this is something I get a lot of questions on, and I have really mixed feelings on. So I say to use this with your own transgression, I guess. Loops. I get lots of questions on loops. And I will say that when loops first became a thing, I think they were very, very helpful. But I think that network marketers figured out what loops were. And now I feel like when I'm in a loop, it's like even people like in this company, not on our team, but I find that it's a lot of network marketers, which is not a bad thing. I'm going to talk about that in the next section about why, like, I don't care. Like, it doesn't bother me to add other network marketers because that's part of my story. So a loop is, you know, people do like giveaways on Instagram and stuff where they'll like, hey, if you follow this person, this person, and this person, and then comment below, you're entered. So a loop is something new that came out where you basically, let's say they have like 10 people in a loop, and you'll have to go like to each person's page to go through the loop to follow those people to be entered into a giveaway. So I'll say, hey, go to this person's page, and then she'll prompt you to go to the next one, the next one, the next one, and then you're entered into the giveaway. So in the beginning, it was really helpful because it was new and people were entering the giveaways and it was bringing on a lot of new followers. But I think now you just have to be careful if you want to do them, which ones you do. Like I stayed in one for a while and I did a loop with these girls like 3 times, I think. And then afterwards I was like, okay, I'm really not getting any new followers because the people that are doing these loops have already followed me because I've been doing them for a while. So I personally don't do loops anymore. I did in the beginning. If you find one and you think like it's going to work great for you, there's no harm in trying it at all. I just don't personally use them anymore. So, okay, let's talk about you finding new friends, finding new followers. Let's go into this. I'm going to start with Instagram and then I'm going to go into Facebook and kind of just tell you the differences of what I do. Now on Instagram, I get this question all the time too. Do I have a specific amount of people that I follow daily? I don't have a specific one where like I sit there and like tick off the number that I'm at. I like to follow at least 50 people a day. I will always say this, it is a lot easier to grow your network on Instagram than it is on Facebook. When you add people on Facebook, you get the message and they're like, hey, how do I know you? So I'm going to explain how I do stuff on Facebook because it's a lot different than Instagram, but I like to add at least 50 people. And like I said, it's key. Like you have to be growing your network. And I think the main factor of why people don't is like they feel awkward doing it or they feel weird doing it or they feel like they don't like know if they're doing it right. There's no right or wrong answer, right? Obviously, don't go on and mass add 1,000 people that like have nothing to do with you or anything. But also, this is your business. And that's where it borders between like, yes, we're in attraction marketing and we're serving that value and people are coming to you. But this is still part of running this business. It's my job to get new eyes in front of me. And especially when you're active on Instagram and it's not just, you're not just selling something, right? If somebody goes to my page, they're not going to know that I sell something right away. It's a great way to grow and interact and get new people in front of you. 50 people on Instagram. Molly, please don't walk on the table. Not on Facebook. Don't do that on Facebook. I'll talk about that in a second. Molly, lay down. So I do at least 50. That's just my number. You can do more than that. You can do less than that. It doesn't matter. It's just whatever you feel works for you. But I will say that when I get into lulls in my business, or I feel like I'm not enrolling a lot of people, or I haven't sold any samples, that's the first thing I check myself on is, have I been growing my network consistently? And 9 out of 10 times I haven't. And that's when there's that problem because I'm consistent with my content. I have that nailed down. So if I notice like I'm not really having a lot of new conversations, I'm not, selling any samples to new people who don't know what product I sell, and like I don't feel that momentum, it's usually that I can indicate that I haven't been growing my network. I personally, she asked, how long do you give people to follow back? I use my unfollow app like every 4 or 5 days. I also don't have a science with that. It's honestly whenever I remember to. So I don't like give like people a certain amount of time or days. I just run my unfollow app like every probably 4 to 5 days, like I said. My Instagram is public. So if you are wanting to use hashtags and grow your network like this and like tag the stuff on your stories and locations, you're going to want to be public. That's obviously a personal preference. I just personally have like no reason to be private. I feel like as long as your page is not a sales ad and you are being yourself and you're sharing content you're proud of, there's no reason to have it public unless like it's for, you have your own personal safety or privacy preferences. I use mass unfollow. It stopped working for me for like 2 weeks. And I went to another app called Followers, and then that stopped working. So I went back to mass unfollow tonight, and it seems to be working for me. You kind of just have to play with it. Some of them can get glitchy and like spam out just because obviously it's a service outside of Instagram taking action on Instagram. So Instagram is going to block stuff like that. But I just try to do not too many at one time so that it doesn't get flagged. But yeah, there's a ton of those apps. They're all commenting. So let's talk about following people on Instagram. Obviously, I just talked about hashtags. You need to utilize those also. So whenever you are on your page, and this can be a good thing you can put into your IPAs, when you are on your page and you post your picture for that day or whatever post you're putting up and you do your hashtags related to that picture, go to those hashtags, right? Interact with those people. Like I said, I don't normally do a ton of home decor stuff or home design or anything. So when I put up the picture in the bathroom, I was able to go through all those like home hashtags and find a lot of new people to follow that I felt like I would, I don't know. This is a weird question I get. People are like, well, how do you know who to follow? I know, like I know, it's a weird thing to explain. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't have this like specific formula of, oh, am I going to follow this person or not? I look at their page and I just know, like, are they around my age? Do we have similar interests? You know, are they active on Instagram? Like, can I click on their stories and see what they're doing? Like, I can just tell. I don't know. Is that like a not, they have my vibe. That's good. It's almost like Tinder, right? Like, I don't have an equation for why I follow a certain person. Like, I just do. And I attract all different kinds of people on my page. I don't have anybody that's like just a specific age or just, you know, in a specific career or does anything like that. It's just something is going to connect you to someone. And if you're being yourself and you're sharing all these different parts of your life, 9 out of 10 times something that you're sharing is going to connect with people. So I don't have a formula. Yeah, it's my vibe. I can just tell that it's somebody I would vibe with. Do you follow people that you have to request or only people you can see their profile? Normally it's public, sometimes private, but 9 out of 10 times it's public because like obviously if it's private, I can't really see their page. The only time I normally do private is if it's like by location. So like if which I'm going to talk about in a second, am growing my network by locations and it's like my church, then yeah, like if I can see that it's a girl that's around my age or that I've seen there and I'm adding and she's private, I don't have an issue doing that. But normally it's public. Oh, I'm glad it's helping. Okay, so hashtags. So when you post that picture and you get in the habit of posting your hashtags relating to whatever that picture may be, go to those hashtags and find people. So that's one way. Another way is just by searching hashtags about, you know, what your 5 things are or what your interests are, or I mean, literally anything. Like anytime
whatever.
Hold on. It won't let me mute. They're done. I'll search random hashtags all the time. Like if I get into like a new crime podcast, or if I find a new boutique I like, or if I find a certain kind of dog I think is cute and I've never seen their breed before, or like I'm looking at somebody's, like literally my mind just like goes to search for people. So I use all different kinds of things, but focus on, you know, what your 5 things are, what makes you you, the things that you use on a daily basis, the things that you do on a daily basis. Like it can be anything. It can be the makeup you use. It can be the hair products you use. It can be the car you drive, the dogs you have, the area that you live in. I mean, like literally there are so many hashtags. And you just have to, like, when it becomes a habit and you're just used to searching for certain things, it becomes simple. So do your posts with your hashtags and go through those to find the people that are posting those also. And then you can search through it just by, like I said, what your 5 things are, your branding are, who you are, etc. And that was it for hashtags. One second. Let me answer this question. How do you feel about other network marketers following you? I get lots of It Works followers and I accept the majority of them, but I also don't want them taking my people if they're 100% in their business. Okay. I'll address 2 parts of this question. I do not care at all if, one second. Yeah. So I don't mind when other network marketers add me at all, because one of the biggest parts of my journey is that I came from a different network marketing company and I was the girl on social media that was posting 3 times a day, acting like I flipping loved my life more than anything, and that life was awesome and great and I loved the company I worked for and everything was perfect, when inside I was literally dying and I just needed somebody to relate to on those struggles, right? So it's not that I'm trying to seek out certain people in network marketing, but I don't have an issue with them coming on my page, because it's one of 2 things. Either they need somebody, they need my story, they need what I've been through because they feel the same things, Or the other half of it is that they truly are happy and it's somebody else that I can support in network marketing and cheer on, right? So it's like, it doesn't really affect me at all. Now, I know that a lot of people will get like weird because it is something that is taught in network marketing to like mass add other people's followers, especially in those companies. And that can make you uncomfortable and maybe be a reason why you don't want them like on your page. But there's nothing you can do to stop that, right? Even if you don't follow them back, like my page is public. Anybody could go to my page and add my followers. And I'm sure that it happens literally every single day. Like I'm not naive. I know that. But what I do know is that like I'm proud of my brand and I'm proud of my message and I'm very clear with that on my page, right? So the people that are on my page that do connect with me and do have a relationship with me and do engage with me, and those people that do end up joining me or are considering it, somebody else following them that's in another network marketing company doesn't make me scared, and it doesn't make me go into lack of like, oh crap, are they going to join them? Like if they join them, then like they totally weren't meant to join my business, right? So although it's crappy that people may do that, I try not to stress over the things that I can't control, right? Like there's nothing that you can really do about it. So I try not to focus on it. Like I said, I'm sure it happens all the time to me, but the people that are meant for this business, the people that connect to me and my story and, you know, are either joining this business or will in the future, they will because I'm me, right? Not because somebody else followed them and like they had to decide between us two. So I just try not to worry about that. Hold on. I'm trying to go back through these. Okay. So I'm getting questions. How do you make long posts on Instagram? Whenever I hit the return button, it doesn't enter the space once I post it. I type all my stuff out on Facebook first and post it, and then copy and paste it to Instagram. And if I don't, I use my notes app and space it out how I want to, and then put it on Instagram. Sometimes it honestly doesn't matter and it jumbles it up anyways, but most of the time that works for me. I just try not to stress over it. Hold on, I'm just trying to read these comments. Okay, so I can touch on this. People are asking what I say when they cold message me, and I always find this funny. If you're on here and you join my team because you cold message me, say something in the chat because I guarantee you I have somebody. I am not rude. I am not mean. I do not block them. I have grace with them. When I first switched, I would get really aggravated with it, and I would be really mad when I got cold messages every day because I get at least 10 a day. At least 10 cold messages a day, which is absolutely crazy because if you even just like went through my story for a day, you would have an inkling that, you know, yeah, I'm with a company, but I get them all the time. And I used to get really aggravated. And then with the amount of them that I was getting, I was like, you know, I should be kinder and I should have grace with this because literally X amount of months ago, I was doing the same thing. And I never had bad intentions when I was doing it. I genuinely didn't know that it wasn't what I was supposed to be doing, right? They said, do this and you're going to be successful. So I did that because I wanted to be successful. I didn't know that it was insensitive or that it upset people. I mean, I knew after I started to get angry messages back, but I'm very kind and I have grace. And it's not always the same thing. I normally just voice message back but I just tell them like, I appreciate your hustle. You know, I see that you're trying to work towards your goals and that you're in network marketing. And I totally appreciate that. Normally, the company that's cold messaging me is the company I came for. So I say something like, you know, I used to be with the company that you're with, but I left, you know, 2 months or 2 years ago at this point because I was so exhausted from the cold messaging and being on that hamster wheel constantly, you know. So while I respect your hustle, like obviously not interested in that, but just putting that little spark of how I used to feel in that message, they're like, oh, I feel the same way. Or like, oh, thank God somebody said it, right? That's normally what what their reaction is like, yeah, it definitely is super tiring. Or like, yeah, I'm exhausted from doing it all the time. Some people will block me and that's fine. I'm not rude, but like I get blocked all the time for saying that. And the other half of people are literally floored that you can build a business without cold messaging. And they're like, wait, what do you mean you don't cold message? And they have no idea. And that was me. I was like, what do you mean you don't cold message? Like, you can do that? Because they don't know, right? So that's why I say, like, I'm not afraid to add people in network marketing. I'm not afraid to have these conversations. I'm not afraid for them to be on my page because when I used to be there, I needed to be saved. Like, imagine if I had never had the conversation with my enroller. Imagine if I had never reached out and like talked and like realized that my feelings were validated and that I didn't have to fake it, I would still be sitting in that company and our lives would be totally different. So I just got way off track, but that's what I say to cold messages. But I guess that's a big part because like I said, no, I don't shy away from adding them. I don't intentionally seek out a certain sector of something, but if somebody's in network marketing and I like their page or I feel like we would connect, I'm not going to shy away from them just because they're in network marketing. And yes, I know that it can get exhausting. Now, if I say no to somebody or I say that, like I've literally said that to people and then they've been like, so you don't want to host a post? And I'm like, no, I don't want to host a post. Like there's some people that still keep going. Those people, no, I don't like normally. I'm not as kind to after that because some people like they're relentless and they're like, well, you could still, be a customer. And I'm like, no, you're really not getting what I'm saying. So with those people, I'm not as gracious, but in the beginning, I'm very kind and nice. I'm so sorry. I'm going to give you PTSD from saying host a post. Sorry. Okay, I'm going to move on. So we talked about how many people I add. We talked about how to use those hashtags. And if you start to do that on your posts and going to them and then searching them when you're in doing your IPAs, you're going to find a lot of new people to add. And also the Explore feed. I know that might sound really simple. And I know a lot of people on the Explore feed are like, they have like millions of followers, but it will pop people onto your Explore feed that are like normal humans just like us that you can find to add. So I just like do like that through my Explore feed a couple times a day when I'm doing my IPAs, and I can find people that way so easily because it will pull people into the Explore feed that are similar to your page or the people you follow. So it's kind of like doing a job for you by putting some people there. So that helps too. And then, like I said, when I was talking about bringing people to you, also, if you're going out to add people, use locations. And that is so big. So anything that is local to you, like I said, I do like my church, the city that I'm in. And I want to preface by saying, like, I'm not trying to recruit people from my church. I don't think anybody on my team that goes to my church. I'm not adding in the hopes of, hey, you're going to sign up for my business tomorrow. I'm searching for connection. And when you search for connection and you are surrounded by people that are like-minded and are walking the same path as you, that's just good to have on social media in general, but you just have to look at the overall goal of having that connection with people and that interaction and engagement. And that will do on its own. It will grow your business in the end anyways, but go towards it with not like, oh, I really want to sign this person, but do I connect with them? If we bumped into each other in public, could we hold a conversation, right? Would we have things in common? Would our vibes get along? Stuff like that. So I want to preface by saying that I'm not trying to like outsource my church. You can do anywhere that you go. You can do like local stores, local boutiques. You can do the Starbucks that's near you. You can do any big events that go on. Like we just had our fair. There was so many girls at the fair with their cute little pictures, right? And you could find so many people because that's like when everybody comes out, it's a lot easier to find more people to add when everybody's in one big place together. So we had the fair a couple weeks ago. Yeah, the Texas State Fair. We had the Oklahoma State Fair a couple weeks ago. And then this past weekend, we had something that's called the Czech Fest. It's a lot smaller, but it's in Yukon, but it's still big for this area because not a lot of things in Oklahoma are like super hopping all the time. So that was a good way too to network with new people that are like me and similar to me and that are closer to our age and stuff like that, that I was able to add through that. So don't be afraid to do local stuff. And also if you ever travel, that's a really good way to do it too. It can kind of bring new people into your network that you never would have had a way to find anyway. So you using your locations and you searching locations is great. And that will help you to find a lot of people. And then two more things I want to touch on for Instagram is that if you want people to follow you back, if you want people to follow you in general, if you want followers that are engaged, you have to engage. And a lot of people also miss this part. Like I said, it's network marketing, it's social media marketing. You have to be social. You have to genuinely be a part, right, of their social medias, of their content, the posts they're putting up, their stories, and all these different things. And I get questions all the time. And people are like, well, how do you genuinely interact? And I'm like, well, that question is flawed because I can't explain to you how you genuinely interact. You just have to be yourself. And if you're bringing on people that you feel like you'd vibe with, it can be simple. You just have to be yourself, right? You can't be afraid to show your personality and leave comments and reply to stories and do all this stuff. Just be you, right? Like you can ask anybody on my Instagram that's not in network marketing, that's not in the business that I engage with. They wouldn't be like, oh yeah, well, she's just talking to me because she's trying to get me to buy something. No, like I know what goes on in their life. I know what they do on their, day-to-day basis. I know what their kid's name is. I know, what their favorite restaurant is. Like I keep up with people's lives and I engage. And that's a really big thing if you want active followers and people to follow you back. And that's a good tip also for when you're going to add people, interact on their page when you add them. Like watch their stories, go comment on a couple pictures and not just like, oh my God, so cute. Like genuinely comment. Like I challenge you to at least a full sentence at all times, at least a full sentence when you're engaging with people. And that will help a ton. On Instagram, the explore feed is like the second button at the bottom. So it's like your feed and then the next one, the thing next to it is the explore feed. And it's where you go to like search for stuff. Yes, emojis do not count. Yeah, when you're replying to stories, emoji reactions do not count. Say it louder for the people in the back. Do not count. Form a sentence, talk to them, get to know them, right? And I mean, it might be funny, so it merits a laughing emoji, but like say something to them, right? And when you genuinely interact, I feel like just in general, that brings new people to my page. The more active I am, right? The more I'm on my stories, I'm hashtagging, I'm doing locations, I'm talking to people, I'm posting on my IGTV, I'm doing all these different things. I feel like Instagram puts me out into the world and I genuinely get new followers because it's a social media platform. They want you to utilize it, right? And again, that doesn't mean you have to be on your phone all day, but when you take that time, be smart with your time and engage with that time and actually produce work that matters, because you could sit and say, oh, I'm engaging and go down, your newsfeed and just like, but instead you could take the same amount of time and actually genuinely leave a sentence or two comment on 10 people's posts. And that's better than liking 50 and not actually interacting, right? Yes. Okay. And that is all I have for Instagram. And now I'm going to talk about Facebook. And I will say that I do not grow my network on Facebook. Like I don't add people. There's nothing wrong with adding people. It's just I'm at my max friends list all the time. And I feel like, again, it's weird sometimes. Like people are like, well, how do you know me? Or why do you add? Like Facebook is more of a warm market most of the time, but a way that you can put yourself out there. And what I do and how I get friend requests is I use groups. And I am in a lot of groups and I don't go in them to try to sell somebody or to mass add people or to do anything like that. But if you can be active in groups and engage with people. So when I'm hopping on Facebook, half of my time is spent engaging on my newsfeed, but the other half of my time when I'm engaging, it's in groups. It's commenting on other people's pictures in groups and answering people's questions in groups and me posting in groups. And that allows people to come to me and friend request me when I'm active in there supporting them. When trying to make a highlight on Instagram, is there a way to access all the photos on your phone? It only pulls up certain pics. You can create a new highlight and pick pictures that you've added to your story to go into that highlight. And once you do that, you can then click your camera roll button to pick a cover photo that you want from your camera roll. But to add stuff to the story, it has to have been on Instagram or it will be on Instagram, like on the day and you add it to it. Do you think it's okay to kind of strictly use Instagram and not really use Facebook? I say use whatever works for you. In my opinion, the more exposure, the better. The more people that you can connect with, the better. The more people you have in front of you, the better. So that's why I use both of them, because I genuinely do have new connections and conversations and all that stuff from both of them. Like I said, it is easier for me to grow my network on Instagram. I get a lot more potentials from Instagram, a lot of brand new conversations and stuff like that. But I don't want to banish my use of Facebook because I still do have a lot of relationships on there and a lot of developing relationships. But the only thing that I use to grow my network on Facebook is groups, because I feel like that's the one thing that you can use if you use correctly to reach more people outside of your circle without just randomly add. Because really, how are you going to add people on Facebook if you're not adding your friends' friends or using the suggested, which I don't use a suggested because normally that is your friends, like I said, and like a lot of us are friends with each other and stuff like that. It's a lot of people's potentials. It's a lot of other people in network marketing companies and stuff like that. So I use groups, and that is how I grow my audience on Facebook. I'm sweating. Hold on. This blanket is huge. I'm in a ton of different groups. So when I was planning the wedding, I was in a couple wedding planning groups, and that brought a ton of new people onto my page because I was genuinely active on them. I shared the process. I interacted with people. I answered their questions. I commented. Like, I shared my whole experience through it. And that brought new people to me. I am in the breed of dogs that I have. I am in a home decor one. I am in one for the bike that I use. I am in a different cooking one. Like, there's so many things. Whatever interests you have, whatever hobbies you may think are weird or that nobody else has, like, there's a group for it, I promise. Whatever your favorite movie is, whatever, if you love travel, I mean, there's groups for everything. And if you can get in them and serve up value and connect with people and stay active in them and talk back and forth with people and not go in there with the intention to say like, oh, well, who can I, add from the comments or do this and that, or like try to sell your product, you will have people that come to you, if that makes sense. And that's really all that I do on Facebook. So I am consistent on Facebook. Everything I post on Instagram, I post on Facebook, and I do post to both stories, my Instagram and my Facebook story. And that helps a lot too on Facebook. Do you do a time to add all on Instagram and Facebook, or just throughout the day? Do you mean like, do I just add people one time a day, or do I do it throughout the day? Is that what you're asking? Oh, that's awesome, Kristen. Yes. Make sure that you're putting your stories on Instagram and on Facebook. Okay. Any more questions you have, drop below. And yeah. Okay. So no, I don't do it multiple times a day. I just grow my network one time a day. So when I go through my first round of IPAs in the morning, is when I grow my networks, and it doesn't take long, like less than 10 minutes. I can get my IPAs done in the morning, in like 30 minutes or less, normally, not adding in my self-development. That's like another half hour, but I can get everything else done in about half an hour. So I just add one time a day, unless like I stumble upon something, or you know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to not add somebody because I've already done it that day. But if somebody like pops up in my feed or on my explore page that I see and I want to add, I totally will. But besides that, it's simple. And this is one of those things, like I said, just like with the IPAs, if you can get into a routine, it becomes second nature. So when I pop on in the morning and I'm doing my IPAs, I don't ever think like, okay, now you have to go search this hashtag and do like, it's part of my routine. I know, okay, I'm going to take these 5 to 10 minutes right now. I'm going to grow my network, and I know the steps I'm going to go through, like I listed out. So just get into doing that when you're doing your IPAs and commit to it every single day. If you could commit to this entire month growing your network every single day, I promise you, you will have more conversations than you ever thought you would. You will have more new people in your inbox, more people interacting with you. You have to get new eyes in front of you. You never know who needs you and your message and your impact and what you have to offer. And it might sound corny, but I always say, like, I will never shy away from growing my network because I don't know who needs what I have. I don't know who needs my story that day or my post that day or my message or this company or this product. I don't know who needs this, right? So if I'm not growing my network and bringing new people in front of me, I don't feel like I'm doing my job at all. So I don't friend request people out of groups unless we've like had multiple conversations. Does that make sense? Unless like we've developed a like connection inside the group, I won't. Most of the time I just let them add me. But if it's been like multiple times that like you remember that name and you guys have like chatted back and forth, I don't think there's anything wrong with adding people. You just have to be careful. If it's one person, I think it's totally fine. I just know that certain like groups have rules, obviously, because that has been abused by people in network marketing by like adding everybody in a group. But if it's one person and you guys have like genuinely talked back and forth a couple times in comments or on posts and stuff, you can totally add them. No, I don't reach out to anybody myself regarding the business or products. I engage with people and like talk to them that way, but I don't bring up the business or products to anybody. My problem is finding only other influencers or people with other companies. Well, one, like I said, don't shy away from that, especially with influencers. Because if influencers could understand network marketing, they would be making so much more money because they're so good at what they do and they're making pennies off of that. So don't shy away from that, but also use those different tips and tricks I said today to find new groups of people, right? The locations, the hashtags, dive more into that. And the more varieties that you use to look for people through all the different hashtags and all the different locations and on your explore feed, you'll get more people that aren't like influencers or in other companies too. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Okay, so I'm glad that this was helpful. My must-have IPAs. We do have IPA chats going with almost every leader right now, so definitely reach out to your enroller so that you can get put into one. But my IPAs are really simple, and I think I put them in the team page a couple weeks ago. But I do very simple things. I do my self-development. I show up and I produce content on my page, which means like a post or anything like that or a live. I am active on my stories throughout the day. I grow my network. For me personally, as a leader, I always make sure to check in with a handful of people or like pop in the team page or something like that. Engage, did I say that? It's the basic stuff that we do. So go to the team page and go to the announcements and scroll to the bottom and look at the I'm new, what do I do daily? And that goes through all of my IPAs of like what to do daily to grow your business. And then also, like I said, reach out to your enroller so that you can get popped into an IPA chat for the month if you want to be held accountable. So I hope that this was helpful. I hope that you guys have an amazing night and are super excited for this week because I am. Thank you so much, Lindsay. Lindsay just posted that in the comments. And we will see you on Wednesday night.